Good afternoon. I'm here to tell you a story, a real story of a small organisation that have been doing lots of work over the last few years. We've been so busy doing the work that we haven't really got out and told very many people about it. So very much appreciate Gary's invitation to come and speak here about what we've been doing, working with the wood at Orchard Barn. So I'm Sarah. I'm a managing director, but I also wear many hats on the project. We are a community interest company. Can you?
Sorry. Hey. Oh.
Okay, that's a whole load better. Thank you. So a little bit about the background to the project. We started 6 years ago. We just celebrated our 6th birthday. Barn dance last Saturday evening. Lots of people came and danced, and people who are musicians who support what we're doing but aren't very practical. They say they're not very practical. They make fantastic music. So they came and played for us, and we had a lovely dance, shared meal in the local village hall. We're based just south of Stowmarket. We've got the use of a 1.5 acre site. It is an old orchard, but actually some of the ash trees have pretty much taken over. It's more woodland or wooded than orchard, although we are planning to bring the orchard trees back into new lease of life. So our focus from the beginning was to establish a centre where we could teach rural skills. It's been quite a journey for us. We're a small group, mostly working in a voluntary capacity. We wanted from the beginning for the site to be off-grid, and to date we haven't got any mains connections. I'll come on to the services in a little while. Perhaps I should say that we are a management team of 6, 3 directors, company secretary, treasurer, and somebody who does our accounts, and she's very, very good. So in 2007, the site was had been neglected for quite some time. And the term structural ivy came to be much used because the south end of the barn was held together with it. But over the last 6 years, we've done some amazing work there. So on the right, you can see the restored barn. It's still a work in progress. It's almost weatherproof now. So that's our indoor and outdoor teaching area. The outdoor area being the old farmyard, surrounded by reconstructed cob walls. And in the last 6 years, we've worked with over 800 people. So that's trainees and volunteers. Lots of different people came along, lent a hand, learnt the skills, and so the restoration has really been one of community development as well as skills development. And I'd really like to point out that out of those 800, it's been about 50-50, 50% women, 50% men. So we really like that there is that more balanced gender involvement in what is essentially practical skills. So the restoration of Orchard Barn, in those early days, sourcing the wood, people said, oh, you'll never find the oak that you need. Well, I'm glad to say that we have. It is there. In the early days, Suffolk Wildlife Trust were very helpful in providing some of the trees that we were able to use for timber frame repairs. We had 4 bays to repair, and were able to involve 22 people. And that top right-hand corner, we've involved people from a very broad spectrum in working with the wood, timber framing. So we've got a surveyor, a homeowner, a builder, somebody in recruitment who wanted to get into timber framing. We've got Rick Lewis, who's been our main man when it comes to timber framing tuition. And then on the right, Mark was long-term unemployed and got involved with the training just because he was really helping out. Bottom left is one of the trees that we've used. It actually now is the wall plate above our main entranceway. Not exactly the straightest timber in the world, but we like wonky timber, and we've made great use of it, I think. That tree was hand converted. Oh, and that tree came from Willisham, about 3 miles from the project. To begin with, we were wanting to source the timber from as local as we could, and for us that probably meant East Anglia. But I think probably about 80% of it has come from Suffolk, and as word got round, the trees began to be offered to us sort of more and more locally, and we were able to make use of some quite small dimension wonky timber, as you'll see. So in 2009 we repaired the frame. The frame, 2/3 of it was existing, 1/3 of it was in need of repair. 17th century timber frame. We then got a little bit carried away and thought, well, we'll replace the roof. The roof was a 1950s sawn timber with a tin roof on it. We wanted to reconstruct a pitched roof that was authentic with the age of the barn. And for me, the exciting moment was when we actually took the tin roof off. We could see the rafter housings. You could see the exact pitch that that roof had been. It was thatched originally, and we were able to replicate that. We had a building historian working with us to help work that one out. Again, this was a series of courses taught by Rick Lewis. We're very, very lucky to have him on our doorstep. He's very local. Another 22 people came and got involved, some of them from Carpenters Fellowship, national organisation working in traditional timber framing, and lots more. Trees this time came. We were very lucky. We were able to go and choose them. We stood there and we looked up, and they looked fairly straight when they were standing. When they came on the back of the trailer, they were far from straight, but we were able to use the majority of them. So down the bottom you can see how we hand converted about 2/3 of those timbers. The car park, or what is now the car park, became a medieval timber yard for about 2 months. You can also see the lovely non-straight timber that holds the back of the roof to the front of the roof, and to a larger extent how the rafters at the back and at the front actually are from one tree. So that was the relatively easy bit. Still struggling with the microphone. Hang on.
You're doing okay, honestly. If you have it too close.
Oh, okay. So we created the frame. The frame took 2 months. We then embarked, having got listed building consent, to put oak shingles on it. Very lucky to have Becky Westover of Westover Woodlands, came and taught volunteers how to make the shingles, and it then took us another 9 months to make the 20,000 shingles on site by hand with some people who'd never picked up a hammer before, let alone a saw or an axe. They all went home with all of their fingers and a lot more skills and appreciation about how to look after trees in the real world. They know about taking the side branches off when they're growing. They wrestled with rather a lot of knots. So at the end of those 9 months, we had a roof that we capped off with reclaimed copper immersion tanks that the local garage owner cut up for us. It was a lovely bit of recycle. We didn't know what we were going to do for the cap until we got there, but that was a really neat solution. And Suffolk County Council very kindly rewarded our work. I work to improve the look of the building and to really prove what can be done when people choose and want to work together, with a little award. And that was great because that enabled us to put in some accessible paths to get less able people from our car park into the barn, which is becoming, well, has been our training area for some time. The inside of the roof. And for me, when we took the scaffolding out, because this was all scaffolded out, and it was one of those lovely examples of really, if you don't ask, you don't get. We actually wrote to 3 scaffolding companies and said, look, we're a community interest company, we're not for profit, social enterprise, doing a volunteer and training project. Please, can you help with some scaffolding? And 3 letters, we got 2 replies. So we had scaffolding throughout the building and all the way around the outside of it. But when we took that scaffolding out, this is what we were rewarded with, because prior to that point, you couldn't see what was underneath it. The battens are sweet chestnut, as supplied by Westover Woodland, for the most part. And this is the barn from the outside with that roof, and if you look closely, the copper ridge. So a little bit about some of the other projects that we've done training on. The barn doors and the original barn were softwood and a little bit falling to pieces. So in 2008, when we were out in Suffolk Wildlife Trust Woods, Bradfield, bottom right-hand corner, there's a big ash tree sitting there. That's a tree that we never meant to get milled, but we were very glad that we had it planked up, because that we took home, we air dried in our orchard, and then last year we were able to make the barn doors from the ash from Bradfield Woods, and they're very beautiful doors. We were able to reuse the hinges. Rick Lewis was the major tutor on that course. So people came along, they learnt how to make the doors, and they learnt how to hang them. That's an interesting process. But you can also see to the right of that some timber framing, some curved braces. That was part of a training project in 2009. And then to the right of that, the project which has evolved this year, that's our new tool shed. Again, built as a series of timber framing courses. On the left of the doors, you'll see some boards that have come from Willisham Woods, small dimension timber that we had milled with that in mind. I said I'd talk a little bit about our off-grid facilities, and this is one of our solutions. It's an earth-fast sweet chestnut frame that we made, and it does meet building regs. In between the sweet chestnut, we've used wattle and daub. That sits on flint and lime. That was another course that we ran to teach people how to work with lime, how to work with flints. We've learned an awful lot on this project. We have dug our own clay, so we've got a little pond now where we didn't have. We wanted to harvest the clay. It's also great because some of our excess roof water now goes into it. Our solution to the water has been to put up gutters, and with a little bit of help from Mid-Suffolk District Council, we've been able to set up a little filtration unit, so we can now, literally when people come on our courses, we're able to show this is where we're going to get the rainwater from, and we'll run it through a filter. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know which it is at the moment, we've still got tannin coming off our roof, so our water is still tea-coloured, light tea-coloured. But the water filtration unit that we're using assures us that actually, you can filter pond quality water. Still got to get it tested. So toilets are off-grid. They're water-free. We've involved lots of different people. So in bottom middle photograph, you can see some young people really learning about how to make a daub and how to apply it. The hazel in there has come from local woods as well that are in the process of being renovated. So really like that we're actually showing people how to work with slightly wonky hazel, because it's not necessarily top quality, but hopefully in years to come there'll be more people coming through and working with straighter hazel. We do a range of courses. Delighted to be working with Essex County Council on some professional courses, and delighted to have been offered IHBC certification, CPD certification on 2 particular courses, one of which is an introduction to timber framing, and that's with Rick Lewis. So that's working with local green oak. We've had conservation officers, architects, builders, homeowners come on that course, all of whom have gone away really knowing that it is entirely possible to source your oak as local as possible and how to look after their buildings. The 3-day course is a little bit wider than that. It's about working with lime, clay lump, wattle and daub, and Mike McConnell on how to avoid your old building getting damp. And it's partly theory, partly practical, so you can see the practical side on the right-hand side. This year we were able to do some community development. Suffolk Foundation helped us with this. We were aware of the fact that we had a beautiful teaching environment, but we didn't have anything for people to sit on, so we set about making our own benches. And top left, you can see a lovely piece of cherry plum that we made into the back of a bench. It made a very lovely chaise longue, and we've used leftover bits of oak for the seats, leftover from milling for the seats. We've used elm. We're very blessed to have some elm on site. We've used them for the legs, and we use little pieces of wonky apple and ash to construct the benches. But we also needed a couple of workbenches, so we did a basic carpentry course or 2, and in the bottom there is one of the workbenches that people came and learned how to make. We also built a rainwater harvesting stand, and this is reclaimed wood that was donated by a local contractor. Top photograph, 2 young men who are really, really enthused by coming and learning really basic carpentry, how to actually saw wood by doing it, and standing back at the end of the day and really seeing what they've made. We were invited out to 2 of the village shows, and so we were able to take some of our working with the wood workshops out, and for people to really sort of get a feel for using a shave horse, a draw knife, and working collectively, which is what we're all about. We do work at different levels, so there's the professional level, hobby level, community development level, and this year we've started doing some adult learning for long-term unemployed people, perhaps with a health problem or 2. The new tool shed, which you can see in the photograph on the right, is what they've been working on. They've done a lot of the wattle and the daub in there. They have done a lot of the cleaving of the hazel for a wattle and daub roof, which you can't quite see, but it's underneath there. Dan there is learning, with some help, how to use a draw knife, as well as enabling us to run that pilot scheme, which is called Building Sustainable Lives. It's helped us as a community interest company to build our capacity. It enabled us to train up 4 of our longer term volunteers in basic teacher training. So we're building our capacity as a teaching centre to go out and do more work of this nature with people of a variety of levels, as you can see. So in fact, we're very, very excited to be at this stage, to have a building that's almost fully renovated. There'll always be lots to do, and we like it that way because there's more involvement. But it means that we're just sort of at that stage of really potentially being able to offer a lot more than we've currently done. We've been in building mode, and now we're moving into that rural skills development mode. In September, we worked with 8 interns who had been lucky and got a 3-month internship at the Museum of East Anglian Rural Life. And they had been doing a fantastic range of training. And we were one of the last courses they did. It was green woodworking and traditional building with us. But they'd done working with heavy horses, they'd done blacksmithing, they had done wheelwrighting, and so sort of a small core group of that 8 are still now with us working as volunteers and making our own hinges these days. They came to make some shave horses, they came to learn how to make shingles, they did some wattle and daub on the roof, and the shave horses have gone back to the museum for them to use. So almost at the end, and a little bit about what we're moving into doing. So Orchard Barn has become the best teaching resource that we could have. Almost every little bit of the repair or the building work has been done by somebody, and we can tell their story, their development, but we can also tell you exactly where our trees have come from and how they've been converted. So we're well poised to do more of this work, and this is what we have coming up. So as you can see, we've achieved a great deal in a relatively short period of time. It doesn't always feel that short to me because I'm there pretty much most days. We're just hopeful that you can help us spread the word about what we're doing, perhaps tell people where they might be able to come to learn timber framing, green woodworking. We genuinely do source our trees from as local as we possibly can, and we look forward to working with more people over the years ahead of us. And I think I'm probably going to end there. Thank you, Gary.